Hello, friend, and welcome to Picast 2.7 with Anne-Marie and Peter.
Hello.
We have a little bit of...
Previously on Star Trek Picard.
We heard from Ol, who writes, "It's possible that Renee is, in herself, not depressed or prone to anxiety in a way that would endanger the mission, but she's had Q screwing with her for goodness knows how long, which has nudged her out of her normal balance. So all Picard did was restore balance that naturally would be there. If, of course, that's the intention of the writers, they should have been a damn sight more explicit about it, because magicking away mental illness in a quick chat is profoundly offensive. Like so many others in enjoying the cast more than the show, I really want to enjoy this series, but I just can't work up any enthusiasm for it."
Yes, if she wasn't normally like that, but Q had just brought it on a temporary episode rather than a pre-existing condition, which would make sense of why they were still going ahead with her being on the mission. I think Lee had said, clearly if she was suffering from, any sort of mental health issues, they wouldn't let her on, the training program, let alone actually fly the mission. So, yeah, it might just be brought on by Q at the last minute. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it should be more explicit, though, if that's the case.
Yes.
Yeah, so have I got to start this gobshite then?
Well, it's called Monsters.
Scary monsters, super creeps, keep me running scared.
The good thing about this will be the tune it made me think of.
Parental controls disabled. This should allow me into his mind.
What you said. Take his lead. Let him show you how to help him out. How?
Leap of faith? It's kind of how I roll. I'm hoping it makes sense when I get in there.
So, you see the sun, and then there's one on a turntable, and Picard is in a suit talking to Baltar, who's an analyst.
Yes. So this suddenly got my attention because, I sort of started the episode going, oh, what's it going to be this time, isn't it? Well, initially, I thought it was Bashir, partly because of the uniform, which is supposed to be a Deep Space Nine era one, although they haven't quite got the colours right.
No.
Now, whether that's because we've not seen this uniform in high def before, I don't know. But anyway, it doesn't look right. The colours are too dark. But I was always confusing Siddig Al-Fiddy with James Callis. And the uniform doesn't help. But yes, no, actually, it's James Callis. It's Baltar, everybody.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think there's an age difference. Sid has grey hair now.
You put them next to one another. Sid has a thinner face.
Yeah.
It's the difference is more obvious. But initially, it's like, we've got Bashir. This is interesting. But anyway, no, we haven't. Not the first time, of course. We've had a Baltar in Star Trek. Although in that case, of course, it's Cole then. It's James Colicos.
Yes.
And it's John Colicos.
Okay. But that's him, though, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Yes. So, yes. Baltars have precedent in Star Trek.
They do, yes.
Yes.
But whether it's a good idea to be reminding us of a far better series is another matter.
Yeah. So, then Baltar says to Picard to tell him a story. Passes in the model sun, and Picard talks about a queen with red hair. And then little Picard is cosplaying as a prince, painting a window. And then the painting comes alive with glowy red eyes, and you're just like, oh, fuck off.
So it later turns out that this, who he initially assumed was just a psychiatrist, is Picard's dad. So why isn't he recognising his own dad?
I don't know.
It's just weird. I mean, and annoyingly, it's obviously on a spaceship, but we don't see any external things because actually it's in Picard's head, isn't it?
Yes.
But so that's annoying as well. And there's some business about him being afraid of narrow spaces, which he never used to be.
No.
I'm sure. I mean, all of the Jeffries tubes he crawled through.
Yeah. No.
Bizarre.
So then, you've got Raffi and Seven are going to go to the ship. And I like the interplay between them. It's nice. And they find that the Borg Queen has locked them out of the ship. And they're sort of like, oh, shit, this is a problem. Railway has gone into Picard's mind and hears echoes of like Locutus of Borg and...
Yes, and some dialogue from Tapestry as well, tellingly.
Yeah.
She's using a pointed-eared mind-reading device. We find out why later, but yeah, initially it's like, why is her ear thing pointy? That's weird, but yeah, it all makes sense later.
Yeah.
Ish.
Ish. So she finds the boy Picard and says she'll save his mum. And then you get things about, why do you find it so difficult to be open and you keep everyone at arm's length? And this is the Baltar saying this. And he's sort of, I'm going to carry on telling the story then. And then he's banging and he's in a castle attacked by demons. And then, oh, God, I don't care. I really don't. And I know you're supposed to want the boy Picard to live, but I just want it over. And I wouldn't care if it was over as a result of everybody in there dying. And then there it was the end. Then in the meantime, the Doctor, whose surname I should know by now. She's been in enough episodes.
Ramirez.
Right. Wants to get into her office and sees what's going on and completely freaks out. But then Rios, even though the Borg Queen has locked them out of the ship, somehow Rios gets Raffi to materialise a piece of equipment, which is a bit odd, and then sort of describes it to the Doctor so she can use it. I think you take over now.
Yeah.
If you can be bothered to.
So Ramirez has kind of realised that Rios is not from this world, but he says, he's not from outer space, he only works there, echoing Star Trek 4 again. Yes, okay, we get it, you like Star Trek 4. Annika finds recordings of Alice implanting Borg code into the ship's computer. Adult Picard turns up, as does James Callis, who turns out to be his dad at this point. Picard accuses him of breaking his mother, but it's more complicated than that, as she's not well or something. I'm not sure whether this is the final word on things, but having built Callis's character up as this potential monster, this is at least an interesting bit of misdirection that the monster may have been his mom or something. Through illness, don't know. Then the child Picard is back to running with his mom. The father accuses her of suffering from irrationality, and Picard wakes up. Rios and Ramirez have a moment, and he takes her and her son to La Serena, so much for not messing with the timeline.
Oh, God, yeah, wow.
Agnes walks into a bar where Sonny Lazelle, i.e., yes, Mrs. Patrick Stewart, is singing, because it's not what you know.
Yeah.
And Jurati breaks a window, which is just baffling, but apparently is because it's about raising the endorphin levels so the Queen can take over.
Why would breaking a window raise endorphins?
In pain, I guess.
I thought endorphins were pleasure, not pain.
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, perhaps there are bad endorphins.
Oh, I don't know.
Talaflin reveals herself to be a Romulan because her ears are cloaked. Because, of course.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. You think how much energy is involved cloaking a ship. All right, ears are a lot smaller, but nevertheless, where's the power source for this? But anyway. There's a suggestion she may be an ancestor of Laris, which makes no sense as she wouldn't look just like her.
No, but then this is how the show does ancestors, though, isn't it? The ancestors of Soong will look like Brent Spiner.
Picard figures out Q is making things personal and they need to go on the offensive, so he goes to Ripped Guinan to ask her to summon him with a bottle. More magic? Wow, it's Aladdin now.
Yeah, don't.
And the music they play is more Lord of the Rings than Trek.
Yeah.
It's very odd. An awful naught because it goes nowhere and does nothing. So it's just been wasting more time. Annika realises the breaking of the window is the Queen raising her endorphins to become a new Queen. And then we get another cute new character who turns out to be an FBI agent and arrests Picard because we needed more characters.
Yeah.
And that's our conclusion. Wow. I mean, I thought it was slightly better than last week's, but that is a very low bar. James Callis was a nice addition, but it's reminding us a bit of a show, which is probably not a good idea.
No.
There's way too much space magic again for my liking.
Oh, and just all that shit with the child and the demon and the... Oh.
And as Sprog 2 said, they're just dragging things out. It's like, yep, you can't disagree.
Yeah.
It feels unconnected to last week's because there's no Renee, there's no Soong. Not that I'm complaining about that, obviously, but,
Yeah.
It's just like, this almost felt like not a completely different show, but, just felt it unconnected.
Yeah.
And there's no Q again. It's like, I thought he was supposed to be the big... I don't know. But no, apparently it's the Ball Queen that's the big bad this week. So it's all very unfocused. I mean, they needed to do much more work planning this out because it's just a mess, to be frank.
Yep. It's gobshite. It's a wank stain.
Yeah, well, that's what we thought. We've heard from
Mark Berryman, who writes, I've been quietly enjoying the podcast, but the last episode made me want to comment. Picard so far. History repeats itself, first as tragedy, then as comedy. I'm really enjoying Picard. Yes, in the same way I enjoy Riverdale. Unfortunately, Riverdale is meant to be so bad it's good, as the writers are not just in on the joke, they're making the joke. Whereas this is unintentionally so funny, a show proudly desecrating its own history for alleged entertainment. I don't laugh with Picard, I laugh at it. Ice bad. Environmental damage bad. Homelessness bad. No shit. It's so overblown and on the nose you have to wonder if the writers are secretly in favour of these things.
and all these things are just passed over in seconds. They don't linger on anything for the length of 5 minutes, and so it just feels incredibly cheap.
Yep. I got more from the allegory and, dare I say, nuance of the original series than Next Gen. Yeah. Is it good Star Trek? No. Good TV? Hell no. Is it enjoyable watched as comedy bad trash? I think so.
All right. Okay. The problem is I expect a certain degree of quality from Trek, so
Yes.
I'm afraid this is just massively disappointing because we know they can do better. And
If this was Buck Rogers...
yeah, exactly. That would be different. You'd be enjoying the cheese. But this, A, Trek isn't supposed to be cheese, and B, Trek isn't supposed to be trash either,
No.
which is what this is, to be frank, so
yeah,
far.
it is. It's terrible.
With the exception of the first episode, which is like so polished, it felt like they're, again, from a different series.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Absolutely bizarre. Yeah, there we go. Well, let's find out what Lee thought.
Oh, I bet he loved it.
This one's entitled Picast, the Next Guff Emission. So there you go. I don't think his opinion's changed much.
Why would it after this episode?
Hello, chaps. It's Lee. Okay, so Picard episode 7. Let me just say, called it. Here we are in Picard's Mind Palace, trying to find out all the secrets and revelations behind all those really interesting flashbacks. Pause for effect. So, yeah, it turns out that we've got Picard talking to James Callis about what it means to be Picard, and apparently his memories of his mother aren't as reliable as they once were. She's no longer this magical, queen, amazing, lovely woman. She was mad and got locked in a cupboard, and it's like, that's it, is it? Okay, and then we get the revelation that James Callis, the Baltar 0.5 for Star Trek, turns up and goes, yes, I locked her in a cupboard because it was the only way to protect you, Picard. And Picard goes, thank you, Father, in a big Empire Strikes Back twist that lands with the same impact as a sponge in a pond. It just like... And it's the same problem as when you see revelations that have no basis in anything. If you've seen Prometheus, for example, and Charlize Theron turns around to Guy Pearce and goes, okay, Father, and he's just like, okay, and? Or Benedict Cumberbatch saying to Chris Pine, I am Khan. It's like, okay, these characters have no relationship to this person in front of them, and it's only the nostalgia of the audience that's carrying any kind of weight on that. And that's the problem. If you go back to Empire Strikes Back, for example, you've got almost 1.5 episodes of Darth Vader being an absolute bastard, and then suddenly saying, I'm your father to Luke. So that's a shock. That's a surprise. That's a thing. Whereas James Callis just turning around in a set from a Stella Artois advert in all puffy, flock of seagulls jacket going, I'm saving you, Picard, and him going, yes, father. It's like, who cares? No one cares. No, I mean, it's a revelation that means nothing with the importance of nothing. And the whole idea that Picard's, psyche is damaged from this one event. But apparently it's not damaged from living an entire life in a day or being assimilated by an alien race and forced to have his memories basically raped so he can destroy his own species and his own friends and fleet. Oh, no, that doesn't affect him. Being flung backwards and forwards through time by an omnipresent being called Q, reliving being stabbed in the chest. No, none of that makes any difference. None of that affects him. No, only this one event. But what would you expect from the writers of Batman and Robin, who so far have thought that the only way to deal with manic depression is to basically say, get over it? And that's the problem. This whole episode is nothing but a big almighty guff of nothing. It's much like the Griswold family turkey. It looks all shiny on the outside, it promises a lot, and then as soon as you touch it, it just goes, pow! And then it kind of brings home to me the fact that you sort of realise that if you looked at this series and asked anyone, what is the plot of Picard? I mean, not the episode-to-episode moment events. What is the plot? And the plot is Picard's future gets changed by Q. He has to fix it. That's it. Now tell me that 7 episodes, 7 hours worth of episodes is enough for that plot. Because Voyage Home, which it loves referencing, did it in 2. And Time's Arrow did it in an hour and a half. And, countless other Star Trek references. You can just go look at any of them. And they do it in 1 episode, do it in 2 episodes. They don't do it in 7 and just waste time. So... yeah, I'm seriously debating whether or not I'll watch the rest, because I cannot believe in 2 or 3 episodes they're going to wrap this shit up. I suspect they're going to pull a Rogue One. They're going to just drift towards an unsatisfying conclusion and then drop a big nostalgia bomb at the end, which makes you go, oh, I must see season 3. So I'm expecting there to be an absolute guff of 2 episodes, and then at the very end of the cliffhanger of episode 10, the next gen crew beam in and go, Captain, think you need some help. And then everyone goes, oh, that's brilliant. This was the best season ever. Oh, just like Vader turning up at the end of Rogue One, a mightily average science fiction action film suddenly gets a nostalgia shot in the arm at the end, and you go, oh, wow, it was the best film ever. And just like, no, I'm done. I think I'm done. So if I don't send any more feedback in, I will carry on listening. Thank you very much for indulging me. I'll just say thanks very much. Take care and see you all soon. Tatty, bye.
Bye. Yeah, I can't blame you if you're going to bail on the show.
It's a wonder you've lasted as long as you have, really.
We're only continuing to watch it because we started a podcast so we'll finish.
Yep.
I would have bailed long ago. I mean, particularly knowing the shite this episode was going to be. No.
But on that, how come he didn't recognise him as his father at the start, if that's his father?
Oh, because clearly he doesn't recognise anybody he's vaguely related to, or an ancestor, or know his own history, or who he is, or something. I don't fucking know.
Bizarre.
Or maybe he's a replicant and the memories aren't really his. And there's a woman somewhere and she's making memories with a machine. And he'll lie down and die in the snow.
Maybe. You've been listening to our commentary, haven't you?
I have. Yeah. I mean, whether the next gen cast will appear in episode 10 or not, I don't know. But for me, even if they did and episode 10 was good, it wouldn't make the rest good. Like, season 1 of Picard, as far as I'm concerned, is worth watching and good, but it doesn't stick the landing. Well, that is a better way round than 9 episodes of shite ending with one vaguely good bit right at the fucking end.
Or one good episode at the beginning and one at the end.
Yeah, bookmarked by a,
pile of
tissue.
poo.
Yeah, just no.
Yeah,
just, it's...
That's what this is. It's a shit sandwich.
It's a shit sandwich.
Potentially.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, we're presuming the last episode will be good, and to be honest, I haven't got much faith in that. But yeah, it potentially is a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to need more beer.
Who else have we heard from?
Llama God?
Mm-hmm.
Namgatulak, Scotty, Fixia, Care, Okjik. All of this has happened before. All of this will happen again, but slower. Now, this episode is really clever because they get James Callis in to play Jean-Luc Picard's father. In a bit of a twist, as we don't know that he is his father to begin with, but yeah, it's James Callis, and we've known that because he plays Thur, and of course Thur was famous for seeing people in his head, and that's clever, right? Yeah, that's clever, yeah, it's really clever. See what they're doing? Yeah, it's not really, is it? And unfortunately, that kind of thinking seems to be indicative of how the production team of Picard have really viewed what they're doing with Star Trek without the Star Trekking, and it really isn't a highlight. I mean, fair enough. If they're going to write this role in, which is the therapist that turns out Picard says, then you can do worse with a bit of stunt casting, I guess, but even so, it just smacks of a complete lack of originality on their part. To be fair, the episode spent mostly in therapy wasn't as bad as we feared it was going to be. It wasn't just standing around. We got to see him tale played out, and there was the twist that it wasn't the dad being abusive, the dad who was trying to save Picard and his mother from her obvious mental health issues. Now, there is an issue here, of course, in the fact that they do nevertheless not make any mention of what Picard's mum's issues actually were, just that she was a problem, and that's not a particularly great way of framing this. And obviously, this being Star Trek, we'd like to have found out what they actually did to help the mother. You know, there's got to be some sort of positive message behind Star Trek. That's the point of it, after all, isn't it? But no, we don't really find out. We just find out that his dad wasn't actually abusive. He was just trying to help, with the promise that there is yet more to come. We need to find out about Picard. Yeah, this was episode 7, right? We're nearly the end of the series. Why are we going to have to wait for more? Just get on with it. This should have been the episode where we popped into Picard's mind, learned everything, done, move on to the next thing. But no, we've still got to keep eking it out until everything's wrapped up in an unsatisfying rush at the very end of the series. It's not looking great, really. And during, of course, that therapy session, as Picard and not Laris get close, they found out that Talon is actually a Romulan. She's just hiding her ears because they can afford sweatbands, but they can do the recharge hologram technology. What? Again, I'm hoping there's going to be a point to that revelation and not just the discovery that Picard's actually got a pointy ear fetish. Yeah, hopefully it's going to go somewhere. And we do get to learn a sliver more information about the Elorians. They actually did have some sort of conflict with the Q Continuum, which serves to highlight how powerful the Elorians themselves actually are if they can go toe-to-toe with the Q Continuum. So, yeah, that was something, a nice little tidbit to learn. And after the summoning ritual is performed, the entrance of that guy, who turned out to be a police officer, he was doing a very good performance. It was very similar to John Delancey's Q performance, and so initially, I don't know how many other people thought that maybe he was a member of the Q Continuum. So that was actually very nicely played, very well studied, very well done. And then it turns out he's the feds there to arrest them. So we're going to have another episode of learning that the police are bad, everything's bad, they're going to stand around in a jail cell point and say that things are bad. No, come on. This is not the point in the series where we introduce outside jeopardy for no particular reason. This is the point where all the jeopardy should be coming from the decisions the characters have made along the previous 2/3 of the series, and it's the consequences of those actions or story threads developing that have brought them to that place. But no, we've just got another new thing. We've got another new obstacle being put in their way. This is not the time in the series to do it. Come on. Chaps 1, 2, 3, and 4, move the fuck along home. Come on. It's not all bad, I guess. I mean, there's stuff with Rios turned out to be at least entertaining. I mean, yes, they recycle that line. No, I'm from Iowa, I only work in outer space. They recycle that, give it to Rios, but actually, he's the character that's best suited to do it, and he pulls it off with great charm. And really, as I said before, that's what I want to see more of. If they're going to do time travel stories, do a bit of the fish out of water, have them be charming, have it be fun. And Rios was the character they could have done that with. I mean, yeah, him taking him to La Serena, that also had echoes of Star Trek 4, but it really helped. I love the kid's line. I'm going to touch everything. And like, yeah, that's exactly what a kid would do. So I kind of like that. There's a little bit of fun in there, and come on, I just need a bit more of that, a bit more positivity than everything else that's going on. And we've got the slowly developing plot thread of Seven and Raffi chasing down Queen Jurati, and again, that could be interesting. I want to see more of that. I want to see more of Rios. I don't want to see more of Picard's traumas. I don't want to see another episode of them standing around explaining why the US legal system is bad, because it's bad. Let's have some Star Trek, come on, please. But just so I don't end on a negative note, I'm going to talk about a completely different Star Trek series instead. Today there was revealed the episode names and synopses of upcoming Strange New Worlds episodes, and they sound great, and they actually sound just like Star Trek should be. I mean, episode 2 of the series is called Children of the Comet. An ancient alien relic thwarts the Enterprise crew from rerouting a comet that's on track to strike an inhabited planet. Yes, that title, that synopsis, that sounds like Star Trek. I am really, really looking forward to Strange New Worlds. So, yeah, there you go. There's a positive thing to end on. The rest of Picard, I have resigned myself to the fact that I'm just playing out the sunk cost fallacy, and yeah, we'll see how the next few episodes go. As ever, I'll be looking forward to finding out how despondent everyone else is. I hope everyone has had a good Easter break, or whatever recent festival you may have been celebrating. And until next time, glory to you and your cast.
Yeah, the Strange New World stuff does look interesting. It clearly seems to be very episodic, which is wonderful, because that would be a nice change.
Yeah, assuming, can we get it in the UK?
But that's the downside. It was still no word. You know, it starts in a week's time, 2 weeks' time. And, can't be asked to tell us, presumably because it isn't going to be available.
Fuckers.
Yay. But we get Picard. Oh, wait.
We are going to get season 3 of Lower Decks, though.
Yes.
That is going to be on Amazon.
Yes.
So I can now look forward to that. I enjoy Lower Decks, and I'm allowed to look forward to it now because it's going to be airing on a proper thing.
And I mean, they should rip the right roll this, to be honest.
Yes.
There's an open goal there to be had, but I suspect that would probably annoy the network, so they can't do that. But there we are.
Oh, well.
And finally, it's Purry.
Hello, Args. Purry here to talk about the Picard episode Monsters. Yeah. So, I'm going to start with the bits that were good. For starters, it was lovely to see James Callis. It took me a while to work out who it was, and it was eventually, it's Gaius Baltar. Now subbing in as a Starfleet psychiatrist / Picard's dad. Typical Baltar. You knew he'd land somewhere. Or is he now in Picard's head? Does Picard now have a head Baltar? Is Jurati going to have a head Trisha Helfer? And we're going down that road. I don't know. Weird thing with his uniform. Was that yet another transitional uniform potentially between First Contact era? Or just, again... I appreciate them making new uniforms, and I'm sure cosplayers and the makers of Star Trek Online like it as well, but really does Starfleet change its uniform every couple of years? Is this what they do? Is it unfashionable now to have a uniform for more than a couple of years? Oh no, change that. That's very dated. So like I say, that was one of the good things. I did like. I actually thought the interplay between Patrick Stewart and Callis was really good. Again, you get two good actors, you put them head to head in this kind of slightly ambiguous psychoanalysis setting and let them get on with it. And those provided some actually very good scenes. I really enjoyed the Raffi 7 stuff, and it's actually a real shame we haven't had more of that. I really enjoyed them working together, being more of a couple again, and the only downside to that, and again, every good thing comes with a little part, and that is that, so they're, I suppose they have bonded back together a little, but essentially, we never really found out. They may have brushed over it, but it was a 5-second blinker, you'll miss it, why they weren't so coupley at the start, but they now seem right back together, so they've clearly made up off screen. And again, I think they don't always have an idea of what to do. I think actually Raffi giving her the obsession over Eleanor was specifically to give her something to do, because otherwise she'd just be hanging around with 7, and indeed even 7's not had much. I sort of laughed that Rios decided, bugger it, and we're just going to mess with the timeline, because, he beamed down a special space medical device, but then allowed a 20th century doctor to use it because doctor, and then decided, bugger it, I'll take her and her son onto a spaceship because why not? It'll really impress the kids. And indeed, I believe it is the rules that you are allowed to break the Temporal Prime Directive if it will either impress a small child or potentially to get you to sleep with a hot babe. So, I think that's it. Will they use her to resurrect Eleanor? Who knows? That was good. The Renee Picard plot, is that done now? Again, do these plots just wrap up? So is that finished? Is she fine? Or is something else happening? And of course, we did have the reveal. I quite like that Lannis was actually a Romulan all along, and she's got special ear disguise. I quite like the thing that she had to put over her ear to go to Picard's head was pointy, and I just thought it was going to be a coincidence, but it was actually going over her invisible ear. Now, the stuff with Picard running around the weird dungeon in Chateau Picard, I don't want to think about that too much, and fighting monsters, that was all a bit, those bits kind of dragged for me. It's roughly what I expected was going to happen and could have done without it. The mental health parts of this, now a lot of people say it's good that they're bringing it up, but my problem is, judging from the response of people who've actually experienced mental health issues, it does seem like it's mental health issues written by people who've never experienced them, or they're not listening to the people who have. And that's a real shame. Again, a missed opportunity there, and it's where even this one made me kind of think, this is iffy when I was watching this set. Finally, have they started another plot thread? I know we had something's up with Q and the Q continuum, and I was thinking, oh good, we're continuing that, but now, Picard's been captured by the FBI. So we're going to have to rescue him from the FBI now. You're starting another plot thread. You just finished one. and you've got dangling plot threads everywhere. So yeah, it's just a mess at the moment. I'm really not sure where they're going, and I don't think they are. So I'll be back next week to talk about the next episode of this Trevor thing. As always, do keep up the good work. I look forward to the podcast always, and I'll feed back with the next one when it comes. But until then, bye for now.
Bye.
Yeah, you're right. Is the Rene Picard plot done now? Are they just in the same way as the...
Well, say it wasn't touched on at all in this
No.
episode, but I can't believe it has been, because that was I don't know. This series just veers from thing to thing that you're not sure whether they have just moved on or what.
Yeah, it is just a mess, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes.
And that's, believe it or not, that was supposed to be a Deep Space Nine era uniform.
Was it?
Yes, according to Memory Alpha, anyway. But the colours were all wrong. I mean, the style was clearly that, but the colours were just wrong.
Maybe there's a problem with the replicator.
Yeah. And yes, they're good actors, but that scene doesn't really go anywhere, does it? It's
No.
Just weird.
And, you know, you can get people who are very good actors, but they can't save a film. Well, the same applies to TV.
Yeah,
They can't save an episode.
Well, that's because we've seen enough Duff films with Patrick Stewart in to know you can't save a film.
No. No.
So yes, we're really looking forward to next week's episode. The good news is we've only got 2 more to go now, is it? I lose track.
3, because we've got to watch 8, 9 and 10.
Oh yes, 3 more to go. Oh. Yay.
Or something.
Or something. Yes. We haven't had a tune.
Scary Monsters.
I suppose we could go out with a bit of Bowie. Hey, bit of class. Doesn't
Yeah.
really deserve it, this one, but anyway.
Well, it'd be something positive to take from this, that it made us think of a good song.
That's true enough.
I don't think anybody's made a song about a shit sandwich.
Not yet.
Give half man off biscuit time, but
Yes. Oh well, onwards and probably not upwards.
Yes.
Catch you next time.
Bye. The artwork for this podcast was created by Andy Palastides.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
And we have a YouTube channel as well.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
Scary monsters, sober creeps, keep me running scared. Scary monsters, sober creeps, keep me running scared.
Shut it down!
The review you had on Shark Sandwich, which was merely a 2-word review, just said, shit sandwich.
Where'd they print that? Where'd they print that? That's not real, is it? You can't print that.